the biggest news in the W is the searing comments from Napheesa Collier in her exit interview earlier this morning. Remember, Collier missed Game 4 of the WNBA Finals after suffering a left ankle injury that you see here in Game 3 on that Alyssa Thomas steal. Lynx head coach Cheryl Reeve, she was ejected after berating the referees when no foul was called. You can see that right here. Reeves was suspended for Game 4, leaving the Lynx without their head coach. Here's Napheesa earlier today.
I want to be clear, this conversation is not about winning or losing. It's about something much bigger. The real threat to our league isn't money, it isn't ratings, or even missed calls, or even physical play. It's the lack of accountability from the league office. Since I've been in the league, you've heard the constant concerns about officiating, and it has now reached levels of inconsistency that plague our sport and undermine the integrity in which it operates. Whether the league cares about the health of the players is one thing, but to also not care about the product we put on the floor is truly self-sabotage. Year after year, the only thing that remains consistent is the lack of accountability from our leaders. At Unrivaled this past February, I sat across from Kathy and asked how she planned to address the officiating issues in our league. Her response was, well, only the losers complain about the refs. I also asked how she planned to fix the fact that players like Caitlin, Angel, and Paige, who are clearly driving massive revenue for the league, are making so little for their first 4 years. Her response was, Caitlin should be grateful she makes $16 million off the court, because without the platform that the WNBA gives her, she wouldn't make anything. And in that same conversation, she told me players should be on their knees thanking their lucky stars for the media rights deal that I got them. That's a mentality driving our league from the top. We go to battle every day to protect a shield that doesn't value us. This year alone, I've gotten calls, texts, and well wishes from so many players across the league. Those moments remind me that sometimes there are things bigger than the results than this game we play. But do you know who I haven't heard from? Kathy. Not one call, not one text. Instead, the only outreach has come from her number 2 telling my agent that she doesn't believe physical play is contributing to injuries. That is infuriating, and it's the perfect example of the tone-deaf, dismissive approach that our leaders always seem to take. I'm not concerned about a fine. I'm concerned about the future of our sport. At some point, everyone deserves to hear the truth from someone who I hope has earned the benefit of the doubt to fight for what is right and fair for our athletes and our fans. We have the best players in the world. We have the best fans in the world. But right now, we have the worst leadership in the world. If I didn't know exactly what the job entailed, maybe I wouldn't feel this way. But unfortunately for them, I do. We serve a league that has shown they think championship coaches and Hall of Fame players are dispensable, and that's fine. It's professional sports. But I will not stand quietly by and allow different standards to be applied at the league level. Thank you.
Wow, that is directness, Monica, that we rarely hear from an active player in the WNBA. We're seeing a reaction pour in from around the league. To me, it sounds like she is speaking for more than just herself. She's speaking on behalf of players. What was your reaction listening to this?
Well, I know that as the vice president of the WNBA Players Association, this is not something that Napheesa Collier took lightly. Or, in my mind, I imagine that she probably got an agreement from that leadership group that this needed to be said, to your point, at large. It's not just about the Minnesota Lynx experience. In fact, she started that statement congratulating the Phoenix Mercury. But it is about the future of this league. And so I think it's interesting, Malika, in this offseason, a bunch of folks casually would say, well, what threat is Unrivaled to the WNBA? And it's like, well, it's different basketball. It's 3-on-3, but what it is a threat, the threat that it does pose, I should say, is how these players are treated from a leadership standpoint, from a resource standpoint, and then raising the expectations. We all know that we are on the brink of a pivotal CBA in terms of the next set of years for the WNBA. And because Fee is in that unique place as a leader, as a founder of Unrivaled, she has access to leadership that truly is invested in serving these athletes.
Were you surprised at all to hear these comments from Napheesa Collier, someone who over the years maybe has not been the most vocal, but we've seen her. It was very respectful, and clearly she's been preparing this statement for a while now, and she said it's not in reaction to losing this series, but maybe this isn't a voice we haven't heard in this searing way before.
I think it actually makes it more impactful, that she is not someone that we hear fly off the handle when it comes to what's happening in the league. But listen, when I think of Nneka Ogwumike and Napheesa Collier and Brianna Stewart and the women that are at the forefront of leading the PA, they are not only so well-spoken, articulate, but they are some of the greatest that our game has to offer. And so when they speak, they fully understand the magnitude of the time that we're in. You and I have enjoyed the boom in WNBA. It's all over the place. Get a part of women's sports. And yes, it has been greatly taken to the next level by last year's rookie class. But this is not even just about now. This is about the future moving forward. And I think, to me, an organization as respected as the Minnesota Lynx, players as respected as Napheesa Collier, have to be willing to get uncomfortable. If we go back to sport, which this is all about, some of the most intense locker rooms that I was in, Malika, were also those that were able to go on to be the most effective. Because if you don't address it head on, it doesn't get addressed.
And those were 2 minutes of Napheesa's 4.5-minute opening statement. She then took questions from reporters for about 10 minutes after that. I want to welcome in our Kendra Andrews, who covers the WNBA and has been embedded with the Minnesota Lynx for us this season. Because as I just said to Monica, Kendra, I'm not sure I've ever heard a player of Napheesa's caliber have such fiery, direct comments at the league office. How exactly was it that Collier got pushed to this point?
Yeah, Malika, and it really starts again to reiterate what Monica said, what Napheesa said. This wasn't about the loss to the Mercury. It wasn't about the physicality of play or even the officiating. This was the response, the reaction to what has been a year-long back and forth between Collier and league office officials, going back to that meeting that she had with Cathy Engelbert at Unrivaled in December. Now, when that meeting happened, I'm told that first Napheesa didn't really know what it was about, but her and Cathy covered a lot of different topics, and it started out quite amicably, but I'm told by the end of that conversations, there were quite a few fireworks, and it left Napheesa feeling, what I'm told, unheard and quite a bit demeaned from what the commissioner had said to her. Now, as the regular season started, and as Napheesa talked about, we heard coaches, players use their pre- and post-game press conferences to criticize the officiating, voice a lot of complaints. So Collier would go back to the league and have private, behind closed doors conversations because she felt this is the right way to go about business, to go about change. But again, I'm told no action came from those conversations. And again, she felt quite dismissed. And so she felt, look, at this point, what are more private, closed doors conversations going to do? She wanted to make a public outcry, hopefully to force some change. We're already hearing more support from players who are preparing for the finals. We heard Stephanie White and Becky Hammon, kind of echo what Cheryl Reeve said. They were also fined $1,000 for those comments. We're hearing more and more public outcry, and Napheesa felt that if she could use her platform, her exit interview to initiate this, it would drive some more results.
And certainly that conversation has reached a new fever pitch today. Kendra, I have reached out to the league office for comment on this, and we will certainly continue to update the story as it unfolds. Kendra, thank you very much for stopping by NBA Today. So that's the WNBPA, which Collier is a vice president of, released the following statement. Quote, Napheesa Collier is an outstanding leader and officer of this union. When Fee speaks, people listen. We are confident that our words today speak for the feelings and experiences of many, if not most, of all of our members. The leaders of the league and its teams, they would benefit from listening to her powerful statement. The players, they know their value, even if the league doesn't. They are fighting for their legacy and the future of basketball. Now, just moments ago, Cathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, released a statement of her own. She said, quote, I have the utmost respect for Napheesa Collier and for all the players in the WNBA. Together, we have all worked tirelessly to transform this league, and my focus, it remains on ensuring a bright future for the players and the WNBA, including collaborating on how we continue to elevate the game. I'm disheartened by how Napheesa characterized our conversations and league leadership, but even when our perspectives differ, my commitment to the players and to this work will not waver. All right, so both Becky Hammon and Stephanie White, they were also fined, along with Cheryl Reeve, if you all will remember, for comments regarding the playoff referees. I imagine that this is a conversation around locker rooms you're in today, Alexa. How are Collier's statements resonating with the Fever and the Aces?
Yeah, it was kind of a weird shoot around this morning in that the main topic of conversation was actually nothing that had to do with the elimination game tonight. We spoke with a few players, Lexi Hull being one of them, and she said that she was really proud of the statement that Collier made and that she, quote, agrees with everything she said. Stephanie White, the coach of the Fever, who also is a former player in the league, said that she also has a lot of respect for Collier and that she is thankful that Collier, is part of the league of really strong women that will say the things that will move the needle for change. Part of this, too, also is happening on the backdrop of a lot of player frustration about the status of the CBA negotiations, with Chelsea Gray telling us today that things have not really progressed well and that they're not where they thought they would be at this point. Of course, there's a deadline to come up with a new CBA at the end of October, and right now there's not a lot of confidence that anything would be done before then. Of course, they could have an extension, but right now, Gray, among other players, was saying that they're really putting the onus on the league to come to the table and, in her words, understanding our value as a league, as players, and that there's no league without the players. And so there's a lot of just general frustration, not just with, some of the things we've seen around officiating and fines, but also with where the status of CBA negotiations is right now. And it'll be a huge topic of conversation once we get to the finals as well.
Right. And while that wasn't necessarily the focus of Napheesa Collier's comments today, I do think that what she said foreshadows the way that a lot of players are feeling heading into a negotiation that right now is far from over and far from clear how these two sides are going to move forward. Alexa, thank you so very much.